What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another car review. This is of course the 2017 Ford Focus ST. Huge thanks to Blaze for providing me with this very sweet Focus ST to review for you guys today. So about the Focus ST, well, I did one a few years ago. It was a 2013 model, and since then they've made quite a few changes. A lot of you have been requesting I do one of these refreshed ones. So in 2015 they did this refresh and it really looks good. They really sharpened up the front end here, you know, with these sleeker looking headlights here. You have the more aggressive front air dam there that's a little more chiseled than before. And overall it still looks really sharp, and I think even more angry than it did before, and really helps to take the ST to the next level without going so crazy as the RS, which looks really aggressive. So it's a really good look. Coming down to the sides here, you have these darker wheels that look really cool, and out back there they have a slightly revised spoiler here for these newer ones that also does look very good, in addition to the new smaller taillights you have that look a lot better than the ones before. And overall it's just a really good looking package that even now, being several years old, has aged really well and still looks really sharp and modern to this day. Right, so for the interior of the 2017 Focus ST, well, it's a pretty nice place to be, although it is showing its age a little bit. But anyway, first things first, sitting down in these seats, really nice cloth seats here. Still the same cars you get in the higher trim levels. This is an ST1, so it's the base model one, but they're still really nice seats. It's a nice cloth material, and they just still have really great bolstering. That whenever these first came out, I remember them feeling really aggressive, but these days there's a lot more aggressive seats out there, you know, and obviously in the RS and things like that. And so these seats don't feel quite as aggressive anymore, and they're still very comfortable, but I really love the bolstering in them. It's wide enough to accommodate, you know, various body types, but you know, hugs in even smaller guys like myself really well. So really well done seats there. Next is the steering wheel in the ST, which is a really nice wheel, flat bottom here now, and just has a really nice 9-3 grip, nice little 10-2 notches. It's a little thicker, but not so thick that it's overboard. You know, again, the RS is a lot more aggressive. This just has a really nice feel to it. Just a few buttons here on the wheel, nothing over the top, and overall just a really well done wheel as well. Gauges in the Focus ST are still really good. Just your basic 4 dials there. You have a nice little digital display, which is really high resolution and very nice and high quality. That's something they've all had ever since the beginning, not since the refresh. So, I mean, all of them have this, and it's a really nice little screen there. Not too much information there, but, you know, you do have a digital speedometer, which is nice, and a few other little things there for your trip information. And so overall, pretty nicely done gauges. And to sweeten the deal even more, there's some additional auxiliary gauges up here on top of the dashboard there, including a boost gauge, which is always a nice inclusion. And it's nice that it's higher up there too, so it's within your line of sight, so it's not too out of the way either. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, this is where it's certainly starting to show its age a little bit. You know, meanwhile, you know, with the Subaru WRX, the GTI, and all those types of vehicles, they've all basically gone to standard touchscreen infotainment. Ford is still forcing you to get a higher option package in order to get that larger screen. So you have this tiny little screen that is very, very dated. But, you know, it's, again, if you want the bigger screen, you can't option that up. You just have to pay more money, unfortunately. But anyway, you know, it gets the job done. It still has Bluetooth audio streaming, all that kind of stuff, so you can still listen to music through your phone, all those types of things, and so it gets the job done for those that don't need crazy infotainment. It's totally sufficient, but it's just, you know, compared to the competition, it's a little lacking in the infotainment department here on the base model. Coming down, you have a variety of buttons here. That's something that is also simplified when you get the larger touchscreen, is you get rid of a lot of these extra buttons. You got a full phone keypad here. You got all these other additional buttons, so it's a little cluttered here in the center, but again, with a little bit of time, it'll be easy to get used to. Coming down to the climate controls, very basic manual climate controls you have here, very well labeled, easy to use, and yeah, couldn't complain about that whatsoever. It looks really good too. One thing I will say though is, you know, since this is based on a Ford Focus from 2011, it's starting to show its age big time. Meanwhile, you know, with the Impreza and the WRX, those have been upgraded here in the past couple of years. Same goes for the GTI with the Mark 7s. So they all have much nicer interior materials, less hard plastic, higher quality feeling materials everywhere. And so you certainly find yourself in this car feeling like it's a little cheaper, a little more dated. As far as storage space in the Focus ST, it's pretty good as well. You have a pretty large map pocket here on the door that actually is basically like 2 bottle holders, but a really nice large space there. Coming over to the center here, you have this nice additional little cubby that you can fit your phone in. You do have another USB jack there as well, which is nice to have, and you also have a power outlet right here by the shifter too. two. And then coming back, you have your two cup holders that are a nice deep size there, and so those are really usable. And then you have this center armrest, which is very nice and softly padded here with this leather-like material, and just really feels great to rest your elbow on. And you open that up, and you have a somewhat small area, but it is a very deep area there, but you can still fit all the basics in there. You have another USB jack, an auxiliary jack, and a power outlet in there as well, so lots of great hookups in there. And like I said, it's enough space to be usable for all the basics, and so overall pretty good storage space. Backseat space in the Focus ST is really one of this car's strong suits. It's a little bit bigger than some of like the GTI in particular, so you benefit with some space there. You have a little bit more legroom. I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself, plenty of space there, a couple of inches, plenty of headroom as well, so you could easily fit someone over 6 feet tall back there, I think, without issue. So a very nice and versatile back seat there, and there's some additional storage back there as well in the doors, and even a little thing there on the left of the seats there. So you have all those little clever cubbies to put additional things if you need it back there. Trunk space in the Focus ST is very good as well, considering the competition. Once again, very comparable with this amount of space you get in a GTI or other similar sized hot hatch. And so, and you can fold those seats down. Of course, being hatched, you can have tons of space there depending on, what it is you want to transport. But overall, so a really good amount of space there and right in line with all the other competition. All right, so start up and go for a drive. The Focus ST just has your typical little Ford key here. Keyless access, push button start, though, is really nice to have, so you can just leave that in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off in the 2017 Ford Focus ST. So the first thing that I notice about it is the clutch is a very short throw. So it's like you lift your foot a little bit off the floor there and it catches immediately. So it takes a delicate left foot in order to smoothly get it going. Now this one is basically brand new. It's got 2,800 miles on it. So that's something that over time, will get worn down a little bit to make it a little less grabby there. But just something for those of you that do buy them new. Other things you notice though, we're on a bumpy park road here, and it soaks up bumps pretty well so far. We'll obviously have to drive a lot more here to get a better feel for that, but the ST, they've developed it to be a good daily driver, and so with any good daily driver, you got to have a good ride. You can't sacrifice your ride quality for performance. So I think the STs have always done a really good job of blending both of those things really well, and so that's why you see lots of these things driving around daily. They're a very comfortable car for the most part. Other things you notice about the Focus ST here is the visibility is actually pretty good. You have a huge windshield, so you can see forward very, very well. View out of the sides is pretty good as well too. I know in my previous Focus ST review, I did complain about this A-pillar. It is very chunky. You got a speaker here in addition to the normal A-pillar, so it's a big area there, and in some intersections it may be an issue, but now, 4 years later, after the first review, I don't see that as being a huge issue, and with cars these days having thicker and thicker A-pillars for safety, that's not a huge shock, sitting in here now, because you have the large windshield to make up for the fact that you have a little more mass there at the bottom of the A-pillar. Other things though, view out of the back is great since this is a hatch here, so you have a lot of visibility there in the back, and so overall, it's a very easy car to drive as far as visibility goes. You also have a standard backup camera too, which helps, even though it is on a smaller screen. It's nice to have nonetheless. Alrighty, so let's turn onto this back road here and see how it does. Here we go. So it's got some good power to it here. The Focus STs have 250 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque, and that torque figure is really the thing that sets it apart from all the competition, which has way less torque. And so this thing feels really good. And one thing that I also noticed right off the bat here is there is way less torque steer than there was on the previous STs. I think that's something they really improved here with this revision that they did. But it's, any RPM, the turbo lag seems less than before too. Before it seemed like it took a little longer. I know it's probably basically the same tune, but for whatever reason, in these modern days where everything has a turbo, this one does feel pretty responsive. There's a tiny bit of a delay there, but it's not bad at all. Coming up to some corners here now. It does feel nice and flat. I do remember the previous ST, again, the older ones, those had a little more roll and lean to them. They were still pretty flat and excellent handling vehicles, but this does feel a little tighter so far. It didn't help the last one I reviewed was on snow tires, so that might be part of the difference as well. We're on some standard tires here. But as we're going into another tight corner here, it's really flat. These things are also pretty lightweight. They only weigh a little over 3,200 pounds. So you really feel that. And you would think a car that's this size would be a little more heavy than that, but it's not. It's really impressive. But yeah, I mean, it feels very lightweight and easy to toss into corners. But we'll do another acceleration, because why not? All right, so it will still spin those front wheels if you go full throttle with the steering wheel turned a little bit. You get some wheel spin there, you might have heard, but it's really not bad at all. And it does put down the power very well for putting 270 pound-feet all through the front wheels. It does a really good job with that. But now that we're just cruising on a normal road here that's nice and smooth, I mean, it's really amazing how refined the Focus ST is. It doesn't have really too much road noise. It feels, again, very plush as you're driving along here. And so again, it's a car that you can tear up a back road whenever you want to, but then you can drive home after your autocross session in comfort as well. So it's a very nice blend. But I'm going to drive around for a little while longer here, go on some more corners, and I'll come back and give you guys some final impressions. So anyway, I've been driving the Focus ST here for a little while longer, and this thing is really, I do feel a difference here as far as the tightness of the suspension setup with these new ones. They've revised with the 2015 and up. The springs are a little different. There's some stiffer shocks and stuff, and so that whole setup kind of helps to make it feel a little more composed. You do have some better tires here as well, which go a long way to adding additional grip. That's the number one thing. If anyone ever wants to add better handling to their car, upgrade the tires. Easy, and it makes a huge difference. A lot of times an even bigger difference than actual suspension components do. So it's a great upgrade here with these better tires. But yeah, other things to note here, I did misspeak earlier. It's actually 252 horsepower, not 250, so two more, but it's take it where you can get it, because it's with stuff like the new Civic Si not increasing horsepower at all. It's nice to have the additional punch here, and it is a nice midway point, because you have stuff like the Civic Type R now, which is over 300, and then you have like the other extreme with like the GTI, which is like 225 now for these new ones. And so it's nice to have kind of a midway point. It's better than the GTI and stuff as far as horsepower numbers go. Now, as far as actual accelerations, I think they're very close. This is around 6 seconds, 0 to 60 for these, and I mean, that's certainly, it feels about that quick, maybe a little bit faster than that, just because, like I said, this is so punchy with a 270 pound-feet of torque. It just pulls at any RPM, really, and the gearing is really good, too. Speaking of the gearing, another thing that I've noticed here as I've been driving it is the shifter, which is a little more rubbery than I would personally like. Stuff like the Mustang and whatnot has a little bit more of a mechanical and firm-feeling shifter, but that's very easy to upgrade, too, with a short shift kit or something like that for those that do want a more precise-feeling shifter. But it actually, I like that it feels light. I think they kind of wanted it to be an easy shifter to use in daily driving and whatnot, and it does have a nice light feeling to it, and it is still very precise. It's not vague or anything. You never are second-guessing what gear you're going into, but it does feel a little light for my personal preference. Other things to note here, though, the brakes in the ST, they're really nice and grabby. Again, this is like basically a brand new car, so we got really fresh brake pads here, but I mean, it's a really nice progressive pedal travel, and it has really nice bite on them as well, so you never feel like you're wanting for brakes here in the ST either. So, but I mean, yeah, just the handling in these things is it's so good. It's really impressive. I love the steering weight too, which really helps. It's one of these steering wheels where it's not super heavy, it's not too light either, though. It feels right. They really dialed in these cars, and I mean, even the previous ST felt really good, but here with this revision, I think the little bit of a quicker steering ratio you do have here for the 2015 and up models helps a lot to make it feel, again, just a little tighter than it was before, which is I think they made all the right changes here, and I think it's worth probably getting one of these newer ones over one of the older ones. You still do get some torque steer there if you really do hammer on it, but it's the fun type that, I mean, unless, if you're in snow or rain, you might have a little bit more issue with it, but overall, I think it actually has a little bit of fun. That's why I remember from the other ST, even back then when I ever had more torque steer, was that it's a little more dramatic feeling, whereas a GTI is a little more composed, probably, feels a little lighter and smaller. It's got a little more of a sanitary feel to it, whereas this is a little more exciting, a little more dramatic, and I mean, both are great options. I think this certainly feels a lot roomier than a GTI too, so those of you that that are on the larger side, you may appreciate you know, the additional headroom I think you have here with the Focus over the GTI, and it feels a little larger and more substantial than a GTI. But it's just a really great car. So anyway, huge thanks once again to Blaze for offering his ST here to review for you guys. Let me know your thoughts here on the revised 2017 Focus ST. Let me know all your thoughts about it in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.